Hey guys. Okay, so I am doing a very casual um Q&A video right now. Um I have lots of questions here, so we'll see how many I get to. But anyway, this probably isn't your first time watching my channel. If it is, I'm Kiri, and I am a Christian wife and mother to three little blessings. And I'm just so excited to be able to just do this casual little sit down video and talk about some things that maybe you guys have had on your mind and you wanted to ask me. So I have questions here. So if I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I'm looking at the questions. All right, so let's see. And if you can hear noise in the background, it's my three little hooligans. All right, so someone asks, what does your typical evening time look like after dinner? Or a typical weekend when homemaking may not be taking place? I have no children yet, but I'm married. My husband works and I'm at home doing various tasks throughout the day. I would love some inspiration on how to spend our evenings that are more Christ-centered, family-focused, less screen time, etc., for different times of year. Oh, cool. Okay, wow. I don't even know what married life without children is. There was 9 months in between when I got married and when we had our first. So I don't know if I'm the right person to ask this one. However, I do remember when my husband and I had that 9 months prior to our first coming into the world. We had this little Bible study, and my husband's name is Joey, and so we called it KJV, Kiri Joey Verses. My husband came up with that, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, it was just like a little Bible study we did together. We would pick a topic and we would just go through the Bible. So, you could do that. I would try and, as much as possible, direct questions like this to your husband because he might have some really good ideas. And if it's his idea, he might enjoy it better and feel less like forced into doing something. Not that you would force your husband into doing something, but you know what I mean. Seasonally, I actually have my THS Challenge Club, which comes out with monthly challenges that you can do. Like with every day, there's like a little daily challenge, a little tradition that you can create, whatever. And it's very seasonally appropriate and things like that. So you might consider doing that. But yeah, that's all I would have to say about that. Okay, what family traditions / rhythms do you have? So on Fridays, we do something called Special Drink Day. And it's where every Friday I make us a special drink. The kids love it because we only usually do water most of the time, other than most Fridays out of the year. We do Special Drink Day. And so I make us just like a little special seasonal drink, something out of the ordinary that's not water. So everybody kind of looks forward to it. And yeah, we just cheers to the weekend. I play our weekend playlist, and it's just something we all look forward to when Daddy gets home on Fridays. And it takes like 5 seconds, but it's a lot of fun and it's sweet. And then my husband and I, we just kind of like chat about the week over our drink, and it's just fun. So that's maybe an idea for you. Okay, dear sister, my question: how do you know if you're really tired and your body is asking for rest or if it's laziness? Thank you very much. Greets, a sister from the Netherlands. Thanks for being here. By the way, these are all anonymous, so I don't know names or anything. Okay, so yeah, basically the question is, how do you know if you're being lazy or if you're just tired? And I would say the difference is that you'll feel convicted. So actually, my husband and I were just talking about this. Rest is a gift from the Lord, but laziness is resting at inappropriate times, right? So if you don't feel conviction, then it's probably just good old fashioned rest and it's not laziness. But if you feel convicted about it, maybe enough to like put it in a question, I would probably say that it is teetering the line of laziness. Now, I'm not going to call you lazy. I'm just going to say, you will feel convicted and you'll maybe like question it. So I would just pray and just say, Lord, convict me of, any rest that I'm doing that's at inappropriate times. Okay. Can you explain biblical submission? I've had it explained to me both in a negative way and also a way where it's been positive, but I want to hear your input. Okay, so to sum it up, I would say biblical submission means that you joyfully submit to your husband's wishes, even and maybe especially if they differ from yours, all the while knowing that the Lord is guiding him, guiding your family, and that in that submission, you are prayerful that the Lord will protect you and your family. And I will say that there's so much blessing that comes from submission. When there have been so many times, not so many, I mean, there have been times in my marriage where I have joyfully submitted, even when I didn't want to, when I disagreed with my husband. And there were times where, it ended up being the right choice. And I'm glad that I had submitted in that way, because it was the right choice. But then there have also been times where it was not the right choice, or, it just like didn't bode well for us in whatever way, shape, or form. And there was still blessing in that because, our marriage grew in a lot of ways because of that. And so I would say there's blessing in obedience. And when you submit to your husband, you are doing it unto the Lord, and everything you do is for the Lord. So yeah, but I think that there's a big distinction that like, I think a lot of people think that submission is like, you're just like, hunkering down and you don't get to say anything to your husband, or you don't get to have an input about, something to your husband. But that couldn't be further from the truth. We are meant to be helpmeets to our husbands, and part of that is telling them our preferences or what we think would be best for the family and helping him in that way. But then, part of that is submitting if your husband disagrees, but joyfully, not like begrudgingly submitting, right? So the Lord loves when we joyfully obey. Okay, let's see. For a Christian mom looking to create her own business from home and content creation through a blog, what perspectives and advice do you have? Thank you, Kiri. Start with one thing at a time. Two things. Start with one thing at a time. Don't do like your blog and YouTube and an Instagram and all the things. I think that you should slowly trickle those other avenues in, but like just don't overwhelm yourself with too much, because there's a method to and like a strategy to every platform. And if you just try and throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, that in itself is a strategy, but I don't know. I think it's more overwhelming than helpful. And then my other thing is to have a story to tell. So when I first started, I didn't really have a story to tell. I just was passionate about, homemaking and like all these things. But it wasn't until I actually had a story to tell that, the Lord really started growing this channel. How did you come up with your brain rewiring formula? It's so thoughtful and planned out. By the way, that's from my course. If you guys don't know, I have a Christian brain rewiring formula. Just curious if this was a method someone taught you or that you learned from a book. I love how you incorporate scripture with science. The course is already transforming me, and it's just the beginning. Wow, that's an amazing praise. Thank you. Okay, so I created the formula through a combination of my own experience healing with Christ, my degree, which I don't really talk about because it is a psychology degree, but it's secular psychology, which I don't agree with, but I have taken the parts of that degree that are, relevant and, the way that the Lord designed our bodies and our brains, and incorporated it into what I do. Also, just books that I've read and courses that I've taken. It's a combination of things, really. How does your method of Christian brain rewiring change how one might think of or approach childbirth? Currently, I'm a month away from giving birth to my third baby. Yay, what a blessing. And I find myself fearful and in fight or flight response when thinking of birthing again. Okay. Even after two unmedicated, uncomplicated good births. Good. Okay. It's difficult to try to prepare for birth mentally and emotionally when my body reacts in fear, anxiousness, and overwhelm. Okay. I will tell you that if you're not a member of my course yet, even just taking the free workshop, I think could really help you. But this will absolutely help you to relax. Because here's the thing with childbirth, it's all about needing to submit the whole process to the Lord. And what I teach will train your mind to do that, whatever the outcome. And I think that is maybe what you're kind of getting at here is like, I've had two amazing births and I'm just worried about the potential of this third birth maybe not going as well. Because, every birth is different. And so the whole point of what I do is, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of the outcome, is to just submit yourself to the Lord and understand His sovereignty in all of it. So I think that could really help you. Okay, let's see. I have a few disciplining children questions, which I would refer you to my 1 minute habits video. It's like 1 minute habits to be a more patient mother or something. And then also I love Ginger Hubbard and all of her content. Paul David Tripp has great parenting books, things like that. I don't talk a lot about parenting or discipline just because it's so controversial. And also, my eldest is only 4, and so I just don't feel like I can speak to that very well. But those are ministries that have really helped me. And then that video that I did, I think would really help you. Okay, when you're breaking the anger cycle, does it feel fake and insincere at first? I can feel so angry, but speak gently. And it feels so fake because I'm masking the harshness that wants to explode out. I wish it were just my default to speak kindly. Does it just take practice before it becomes a habit? Does it feel fake or insincere at first? No, not really. Not for me. So I think that the root of this is that you have to get to the root of your explosive anger and tackle it at the root. And then it makes the outward expression of that, like that explosion, it makes that unnecessary. So of course, anger is a normal human emotion and you're going to feel angry for normal reasons, right? But once you aren't in that fight or flight phase or mode or whatever, I can't think of the word, then the triggered responses will start to fade away. So there is an element of practice to this though. And like you do have to rewire these responses out of your brain and out of those neuro pathways, because a lot of it is that you just have trained your mind to respond this way and think this way. And so that's what I go through in my course. But no, honestly, it doesn't feel fake or insincere. It actually feels more sincere when I don't act angrily. Someone else said, do you ever fail and get angry again? Or are you just not into that sin anymore? I wish that was a thing. Of course, I'm human. Yeah, I get angry and I fail when I get angry. Also, I know that when you say get angry again, what you really mean is that do I sin in my anger again? Because anger is a natural human emotion that you're always going to feel at one point or another. So yes, I think that, I still feel. But I think what I'm working on more now, personally, is less the explosive outbursts of anger and more just like the general tone of my voice and speaking gently more often and showing delight more often. Yeah, sanctification is it's always happening. So yeah, I have not arrived and I will never like fully arrive, right? Until I'm in my glorified body. Okay. Hey, okay. Do you plan to homeschool your children? Thank you. I love your channel and have completed your 7-day free or your free 7-day course. That's my free workshop she's referring to. My family and I are grateful for you. Oh, yay. Real quick, guys, I do want to say, she said she completed my 7-day workshop. I get a lot of people who are like, your workshop's not free. Why are you saying it's free and it's not? Okay, it's totally free. If you are seeing my paid course, it's because you clicked on the wrong link. You didn't click on the link that's for my free workshop. So if you go into the description of my YouTube videos, there is the very top line which says free workshop. That's the free workshop link. You put your email in and the next page that pops up is my free workshop video. It's the free workshop as well as the companion PDF, like the workbook. So it's completely free. I also send you an email right after that gives you a replay link for the workshop. So it is free. If you directly go to my course page, that is, you just clicked on the link that was right below the free workshop one. So anyways, I just wanted to quickly address that. Okay, do I plan to homeschool my children? That is the $1 million question. I don't know. Yeah, I was, and we've been homeschooling up until now just for preschool. We are looking into some classical Christian schools for my eldest right now. We moved to Idaho, and so there are some really good classical Christian schools in the area. I don't know. We're prayerful about it. Also, I know that I can just take it 1 year at a time. But yeah, stay tuned. Okay, how do you find time to connect? Okay, how do you find time and ways to connect with your husband when you live far from family? We just moved to South Carolina, and it's so hard with 3 small kids. It feels like our connection and marriage gets put on the back burner because we're so tired by the end of the day. Yeah, I know. Terrible time to ask this question because like we just moved, and so we're like in the thick of that right now. We are in the thick of like everything is crazy. But I think what I would say is just like the day to day, like you just have to make those little interactions that you already have with your husband, like even when the kids are around, make them special. Be playful with him, at the dinner table, like just be silly with your husband and just make like the time that you have together, even with your kids around, make that fun. And that's like the secret sauce in this season of life. Outside of that, we have, because we're not near family, we have already hired the sweetest gal to come help with our kids so that we can have like 1 date day a month. So if you can do that, obviously that's ideal if you're not around family or if your family doesn't have time to help on any sort of regular cadence. So I would do that. I would really prioritize that if you could, because that is important. But that's what I would say is just like really try and be intentional about making the time with your husband that's like with the family. Make it fun, make it exciting, find ways to like make it even like, wear like lingerie under your clothes or something. And like just have a little bit peeking out so that he can see. But then obviously like you have to follow up with that at night. Like you can't just do that and then you know what I'm saying. So yeah, just prioritize that. All right. Someone says, I have been in the workforce for 17 and a half years. I just had my 3rd baby and we've decided that I will stay home and care for her. I raised 2 children while working full time. How did you transition from working to staying home? Was it hard to leave your job to some degree? How was the transition for you? I have a whole video on how I used to work and transitioned to, when I became a mother, being a stay-at-home mom, because it was hard for me. Like I genuinely loved my job. I loved working. So in part, I kind of replaced it with like this, and like working on a passion project at the time. I mean, it's still my passion project, but at the time it was just kind of like a hobby. So I still had something that I was passionate about that was exciting for me. So that's what I would say. Find something like that. All right. When you became a mom, how did you know what to do? Like, this is such a good question. Like, when to have your baby nap, and when to feed, and how to know about car seats, etc. Did you do research? Did someone tell you? Did you just go with your motherly instincts on everything and let God guide you? Oh man. No, I felt like I had no motherly instincts whatsoever. I took the Taking Care of Babies, I think that's what it's called, Taking Care of Babies class with my first, like before my first. I remember my husband and I, we like sat down on our couch, we had our laptop out, and we did the Taking Care of Babies class. And that taught us a lot actually about basics like diapering, feeding, wake windows. I don't know what wake windows were, naps, how to get a baby down for a nap. And that's actually served us well, and like given us the knowledge that now is just like second nature to us that I don't even think about. I'm the type of person that did all the research. I do all the research. I do everything. Like, I'm crazy. Like, I do all the research. I make sure that I know everything about everything and trying to control it to a fault. So I don't recommend that, but, I have a friend actually who is so opposite of me, and she comes to me for all the questions about like, what prenatal do you take, and everything. And like, hey, this is happening. She just had her first baby, and this is happening, and what do I do? And because I've done all the research, I know all that. Also because I've had 3 kids now, I know a lot more than I did when I just had the one, but or when I didn't have any. So yeah, it's just like, what kind of person are you? Are you a researcher? I think that now, as a mom of 3, like, you still need a lot of guidance. And so I think that the best thing to do is lean on the community around you more than like Googling. Now I lean on my community more, my group of mom friends, my husband. My husband is amazing. He like gives me, like, if I'm struggling with something at home, I ask him, and he just has the best advice. Ask your husbands, guys. Like, if you have a question about something, it's his kids too. He cares. He has a vested interest. Even if you may think that he doesn't, ask him for his advice, and genuinely like try and take his advice. Cause yeah, that's been a huge blessing to me when I started directing my questions to my husband. But yeah, just like, if you have a Titus 2 mentor, which I highly recommend, finding one, praying for one, ask them. Yeah, mom friends, ask your community. That's what I would lean on rather than like Googling. And yeah, just pray for wisdom, and the Lord will provide wisdom. I'm back, you guys. I just took a break to get a little tea, and I'm back into it. So let's see. If you're comfortable with sharing how you overcame trichotillomania. I had watched your testimony video where you had mentioned it. I've struggled since I was a young girl and now almost 40. I really appreciate your channel and wisdom. Thank you. Okay. I'm so sorry you're experiencing that. So it's a symptom of anxiety. I had multiple things like that. I also had something called misophonia. I think that's what it is, where like certain sounds would just like send me into a fit of rage. Like, it was just awful. Wouldn't wish it on anybody, but like the sound of people chewing or smacking lips or like, well, it was less than, or it was more than just like a pet peeve. It was like, it was clearly a trauma response. So same thing with trichotillomania is, once I addressed some of the trauma that I had, and, in like a biblical way, and I was able to get out of fight or flight by calming my nervous system, that is when those things just kind of faded. Like it wasn't like I didn't do any sort of specific therapy to address those things. They just naturally went away when I addressed the root of the issue. So I wish I could say like, this is what I did, but well, I guess I can. Like that's what my free workshop and my course is all about. So, yeah, but that you just have to get to the root of it, and you have to, when you're ready, work on the root of what's happening there, because it stems from anxiety. Someone says, how do you navigate being sick yourself? How does the house not fall apart when you're unable to do your normal routine? It does. It does fall apart. I mean, I don't know. Like I have a really helpful husband. He picks up the slack when I'm not well. But like it's never going to be done my way if I'm not the one doing it. So I guess it just kind of comes down to what is your idea of falling apart versus just not done the way that you want it. And then you just have to be really okay with it not being done the way that you want it. And then if you aren't blessed with a husband who is able to or willing to do as much as like say mine would, you just kind of embrace the chaos. I don't know, like you just have to accept it, like accept that it's going to be chaos for a while. I've had one in particular really grueling pregnancy where it was like an extended period of time of just one trial after another, that like things just didn't get done. I talk a lot on my channel about like routines and how to create systems so that when things like this do happen, the house can kind of just run itself for a while until you get back on your feet. I know in your videos you've expressed being in survival mode. How did your anger / survival mode affect your marriage? Okay, I'm going to do this one question at a time. How did it affect my marriage? Oh my goodness. Are you kidding? My husband didn't know who he married. He was like, who is this? Yeah, I mean, it just completely changed who I was. And so therefore my husband was like, oh my word, I thought I married someone and then it's this completely different person. And then when we figured out what was actually going on and we addressed that, and I was able to get out of survival mode and get out of fight or flight and actually calm my nervous system, and that's when like I came back and like my personality came back and everything, and my husband was just like, oh, thank God. Like it seriously was like such a relief for him. How did your marriage overcome the trial of your I think she meant to say sanctification. I mean, there was a period of time where once I had kind of come back to myself, like I just kind of had to work on things and like earn the trust of my husband back and things like that, because he kind of had to put up with a lot for a while, and I just kind of had to earn his trust back and redeem that relationship. But the Lord is able to do so much more than what we think, and in such a shorter amount of time than we think, and he can redeem those years. And that is what I personally witnessed. Does your spouse have any words of encouragement to all the men who have wives that have been living in fight or flight mode / anger? I don't know. I would have to ask him. I'm sure he does. My husband was so gracious and is so gracious. But I was actually talking to him the other day. We were talking about, I said, why do you think, because husbands love my course. Like so many of the testimonials I get are actually from the husband who is like, thank God you took this course because I feel like I have my wife back. And yeah, I asked my husband, I was like, why do you think husbands love my course so much? And my husband was like, because they feel like they got their wives back. Like they feel like, the person that they married is back again, and that they can actually have fun with their spouse, and like life doesn't have to be so full of like tension. And he was like, men want to come home and they want to feel like they are coming into a happy house, not for them as much as like men are just designed to want their families to be happy and safe. And he was like, when I come home and tensions are high and I can tell that like things have just been crazy all day and you're stressed out of your mind and all of this, he's like, it causes him anxiety too. And so he was like, it's just so refreshing to come home and it's like everybody's happy. And he was like, even there are days where like I can tell that you've had a hard day just because of certain things that have happened, but like I would never know by the way that you're treating me. And he's like, I think husbands are probably seeing that, and that they're just they feel more secure in their home in general when their wives are not living in survival mode. Okay, but does my husband have any advice? I don't know. I would have to ask him. Maybe we should bring him on. Let me know in the comments if you want my husband to come on. It's probably never going to happen, but we'll see. Okay. Thank you so much. She said a bunch of really sweet things. Thank you so much. If this was your question, you are so sweet. Okay. You have mentioned before that you have boundaries with food. Okay. I want to feel better, eat less sugar, and take care of myself, but food seems to be the only thing I look forward to for my breaks/rewards during the day. I know the feeling. Can you give some examples of your boundaries? I know it sounds horrible, but how can I have joy in my day without my sweet treat? Girl, I know what you mean. Okay, I have a couple things to say about this. One is fasting and praying. Because I'm like either always nursing or pregnant, it seems. Any fasting that I've done, except for those little periods in between where I've done actual like legit no, like only water fasts, I've had to fast things like sweets or coffee or something that I look forward to. Just anything that I look forward to, I will fast that. And that has been profound in my life when it comes to just my spiritual relationship with the Lord, or things that I'm struggling with, or, like spiritually things that I'm struggling with, or things that I'm struggling with in life, or even like food addictions, So sugar is a big one because I know what you mean. Yeah, like nap time comes and I'm like, I want my bowl of chocolate chips and macadamia nuts or like whatever it is. So yeah, boundaries are like, I have implemented one sweet a week, which is hard because yeah, it creates boundary, which is good. Another thing that's really helped is intermittent fasting, because if I only have 8 hours in a day to eat all my calories for the day, then it kind of cuts out on a lot of the times where I would want to snack on sweet things anyway, or I'm just too full from my meals to want to snack on sweet things. So that's been a good boundary. But this last line that you said, I know it sounds horrible, but how can I have joy in my day without my sweet treat, really leads me to wanting to tell you to fast and pray. I really think fasting and praying can be like such a wonderful thing for your own spiritual growth and maturity, and finding joy in something that's other than, or someone, the Lord, other than sweets. But I know what you mean. You're not alone. Did postpartum affect your marriage? I want more children, but I'm afraid it would hurt our marriage further. We have 3 under 4. Whew, I know how that is. And they all depend heavily on me. Yeah, I know. Did it affect my marriage? Yes, absolutely. I think it's designed that way. Like I think that the Lord wants you to grow in your marriage, and it's up to you to decide how you do that. Like, do you make lemonade out of lemons, or do you let it negatively affect your marriage? And I think that's like the whole challenge, right? For me personally, I think pregnancy affects my marriage more than postpartum. Because other than my last pregnancy, my first two they were pretty rough. But yeah, I mean, postpartum is its own thing too. So, I want more children, but I'm afraid. So when you say afraid, like we know that fear is not of the Lord, and so I would just really pray about that. And we never want to not have more children because of like fear, right? Like it's okay to have like a healthy caution, and you want to make wise decisions, and you want to, you don't want to do something that would be detrimental to your marriage, obviously. But you don't want to be afraid about it either. So I would really spend time with the Lord on this, but also ask your husband. What's your husband think? Because I think sometimes our husbands don't want us to have children or have more children because they're like protecting us in a way where they're like, I think that she needs a break. And so, yeah, talk to your husband about it too. Okay, what advice would you give to a mom who is trying to lean into their faith from the very start and would like their young kids to learn more about God and their faith? Where would you start, especially if, for example, you weren't raised to know much about God? I would start with going to church. Just find a really good Bible believing church. And when I say Bible believing church, I mean like a church that speaks from the Word of God. And it's not just kind of like a motivational talk every week. Like it's, very biblically sound. Ask your husband how you guys can help cultivate that in your home. I would also, there's a book. I can link it below. It's it's called Grace and Truth. I think it's like a little catechism book, but it's like not Catholic catechisms, it's Christian catechisms, so that you can catechize your children in the faith, just like basic knowledge, and teach them scripture and hymns and things like that, like all the kind of basic things that you want your children to know. It's all in that book, and it lays it out like, when you should teach it to them and by what age and all of that. So I can link that book below. How do I take back my time as a mother and wife with 3 small children under 5? You find opportunities for everything. So like you find opportunities for free time. Typically, when you have young children, your opportunities for free time are early morning before the children wake up, nap time, and evening after they go to bed. Now, if you don't have your children on any sort of schedule, or I don't know, like some kids just don't sleep as well as others, then you're going to have to get creative, and you just have to find ways to do things with your children around. And I know that can be easier said than done. But there are ways to do it. But yeah, you really just have to maximize on that time when your children are sleeping. That's how you buy back your time. Also, ways that you can get things done with children who are the ages of your children, when they're awake, are bath time is really good. Like, I'll read a book when the children are in the bath and I'm just sitting on the toilet. Like, I'm not using the toilet, I'm just sitting on the toilet. Reading a book, playing outside, instituting, a quiet time or like a independent play time. So there are ways like that, but you just have to find what all your opportunities for rest are and then take advantage of those and know what you're going to do when those opportunities come. So like I never go into a nap not knowing what I'm going to be doing during that nap, if that makes sense. Because if I didn't know, like if I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do during this nap, I would squander it away and I would like scroll my phone, or, it just would not be useful. So I think you have more time than you think. You just have to utilize it wisely. All right, you guys. I think that's it. I think I'm going to end it there. But anyway, it was so fun doing this. And I think next time I will probably have like a little bit more polished of a setup. But this is what I'm working with right now for various reasons. So anyway, I want these to be a little more casual anyway. So this is fine for now. But yeah, I'm hoping that next time these Q&As can be, I don't know, a little more polished, but let me know what you guys think. Do you like the Q&As? I hope that you found some little nuggets of wisdom that I can offer here and got to know me a little bit more. But yeah, leave me a comment below. And also I'll leave the link below for the form where you can submit the questions for my next Q&A. All right, thanks guys.